bienvenue. Bienvenue à la première session de Montreal Scene by. My name is Marianne Potanen. I teach Quebec Studies, and I'm your host. And there's also a co-host, Piers Young, who is the president of the McGill Quebec Studies Student Association. So he's got all the work to do, but I have the great pleasure of introducing to you the speaker, but we'll begin first with a land acknowledgement.
Hi, thank you everyone again for coming. So we would like to start off by saying, while we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to acknowledge that McGill University is located on land which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst Indigenous people, including the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe nations. We do this to acknowledge the importance of the land on which we work, study, and live, and to acknowledge the complex web of relationships of which we are a part. Further, I don't know where everyone is listening from, but for you, those of you not currently at McGill or in Montreal, I would also strongly encourage you to investigate and appreciate the original keepers of the territory you currently sit at. And
okay, so Piers, how about if I introduce Nathalie, and then we'll start with the questions. Okay, so I have really the great pleasure to introduce to you Nathalie Bouchard. She's the director of the Centre de Ressources d'Action Communautaire de la Petite-Patrie, and she's been there since 2013. She's a literature graduate with a profile in feminist studies and business administration, which sounds fantastic, Nathalie. And she has more than 15 years of experience in human resources management and psychosocial intervention in both the community sectors and the social economy. She's worked for 5 years for the YMCAs of Quebec until becoming director of community development. She's also worked in a company for 7 years where she was notably responsible for human resources and intervention. Through her many volunteer experiences and her presence on several boards of directors, Ms. Bouchard seeks to push her social involvement and her managerial experiences even further while pursuing her social ideals. So before Ms. Bouchard begins, I just want to point out that you can, if you have questions or comments, please put them in chat and I will read them. Okay, so I turn it over to you, Piers.
hello, thank you again so much for coming again, Mrs. Bouchard. To start off, I just want to get a bit of a personal background on you. And because you led a very long career, you brought a lot of experiences in with you. Why did you end up choosing the center that you currently work at? What drew you to food security, and what drew you to this organization in particular?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I didn't specifically choose to go in elementary. Actually, I wanted to work in community work. I had been working, like Marianne said, for 7 years in reinsertion with youngsters from 18 to 35 years old that wanted to go back to work, get back to the workforce. So, and I wanted to go even further and work really in the core community. So, so truly it's the CRSC that chose me. And so it was a whole new adventure for me. I had never worked in food security. So a lot of things for me to learn, but at the same time, it was very significant for me to work there because growing up in Montreal, in the hard neighborhood of Montreal, myself, my family were, poor. We were poor, and we had to have access to food banks ourselves. So I knew how it worked or what it meant for families to go to food banks. So it was very personal at this point, and I wanted to make a difference in this area, particularly for having for having been to a food bank. So it was very meaningful for me to be an actor and maybe, take it further.
Okay, that is perfect. Thank you so much. And you just kind of spoke about how to become engaged in the community. You really wanted to interact, get to the core of the community and get right to the base of things. Why do you find community engagement so important? And can you just talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, when I started working at the YMCA, I was doing homework with the kids. I was helping with their homeworks. It was a part-time job I was finishing university. And I realized at that point, I was into my 5th year in university, and I was young, and I thought that everything had to go through schooling. Schooling was very important for me growing up. I thought it was the solution to everything. Getting out of poverty was for me the way to get out of poverty. But when I had my first experience working with kids that were as well, in a difficult situation, I realized that what was very solicited. It wasn't my studies or everything that I had learned in school, but truly my own experience. And I started working with moms as well that were at home, and that brought in their own experience to make this program something very human, very close to the root. And I realized that my own upbringing and my own experience had a very good and strong impact on the youngsters that I was doing homework with. It was like a lot of the times they would stop me during the homework time telling me, "Oh my God, Natalie, how did you get out of Point St. Charles? Oh, how did you become someone who's helping me right now?" I was inspiring to them. And that's when I realized, I said, well, you know what? Everybody has a role to play in their community, and as being an inspiration for others. And I thought at that point as well that I had keys within me to help these kids that had nothing to do with what I had studied, but that were really like human aspects that I had developed through the years. And I thought, my God, everybody has to bring in their own experience and to make a stronger community. So I don't know if I'm being clear, but that's and it was very systematic. I mean, every day that I would come in, I would see the influence that I had on these kids. So I decided right after that, I said, well, I'm going to start a girls group at the YMCA. I'm going to start getting these girls to know. I was working a lot with girls and getting them to understand that they had power on their own lives. So we started a girls club, and I thought, oh my God, everything that every human being can bring to this group of girls. So I started inviting people with different, experiences, and it really had the impact that I thought. So now that I'm older and I have even more experience, I see in our center that every people that come in to volunteer, to do stage, they all have different baggage that they could put in, and it just makes the center stronger. So I think we all have a responsibility to share our own experience and knowledge to make a cause go further on.
Thank you so much. That's a very great answer, and I think one that everyone, especially in a university environment, really should do well to remember. And you were talking about your personal experience and how much you've learned, how many experiences you've had. And so in that light, can you tell me, you've had a lot of experiences, you've been with your center for a very long time now. Is there anything you wish you knew now, any experiences you have learned from that you wish you had when you started out? And, what knowledge do you wish you had now that you wish you hindsight, right?
Yeah. Well, when I started working here and being, in charge of the organization, I'm a person that has little patience. Well, now I have more patience, but when I came in 2013, I realized that I wanted things to move very quickly, and I thought it depended on my own capacity of delivering. And but working in community work has nothing to do with how much hours you put in or how convincing you can be. It depends on the politics, it depends on the local community, it depends on the people themselves who receives the service. And that was very hard for me at first, to have to depend on so many people, because when you have a personal project that, you know, even though you have a big team around you, when it's your personal thing with your own means, and the example of having your own personal business, it's your own money, it's your own drive, and you can make it move as fast as you want or as fast as you're able to put the energy in. It doesn't work like that in community work. And I remember when I first came in, I looked around me and I thought, okay, the services, the way we offer them right now are a little like when I was young, meaning people do a big lineup, they come in and get a box of food, they don't know what's in the box, they take it, and they have to be very grateful what we've given them. I wanted to revolution the whole way of giving food, and I wanted to have grocery stores that could able people to come in and buy things cheaper, and I wanted right now. And I thought by being very fast on getting all the stuff together and being able to build that grocery store was going to happen like that, because I'm a strong-minded person. And no, it took 3 years for us to be able to open the grocery store. And now it's to maintain it that is such a struggle, you know? So yeah, I wish somebody had told me when I started, it's going to take time. It's not going to depend on the blood that you're able to put in, and it's going to have to depend on the politics in place. And that is something you have to cope with. So yeah, and maybe a little less naive, you know, if I could say it like that. I was like full of dreams and I thought everything was possible. And I wish somebody had told me, you know, you're going to have to dose it off a bit because it doesn't only depend on your drive. Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you know, great message as well. This is very exciting for me, incidentally, because I remember when we were crafting questions yesterday, I was talking to Dr. Tannen, that a lot of these questions are questions I've been meaning to ask you for a couple months now since I first started interning, and so very exciting experience for me. And now there are a couple of political questions that I'd like to ask. If you don't want to delve too deep in them, just because of the nature of your position, don't worry about it. But you know, just say what you can. And so, firstly, what do you think the consequences of food justice, food security are in the face of neoliberalism, right? Where the government is not so much taking a lot of the responsibility, but instead relying on community organizations. What do you think about this in this light?
Well, it certainly makes our job lots harder. For a good example that I have on the subject is that, yeah, the government is really like shoveling it all in our yards of community work. They think we could do it all. But at the same time, financially, they're absolutely not there, you know. They made great efforts during the pandemic. They had, I think, no choice to give us more money because we were just helping so many, much more people. But on a day-to-day basis, we don't get much money to our mission. So the way it works is that they give us a certain amount of money just to say that they do drop in a little something. But as for the rest, we have to constantly get private fundings. And that implies a lot of work. I mean, at least once a week, yeah, about once a week, once every 2 weeks, we make a new demand for private fundings. And for us, it's very, very, very time consuming, because not only do we have to write to these different private foundations, but then afterwards we have to get back to them once, 2 times to do the rendition. So that takes a lot of time for little money. And every time I do that, and obviously sometimes I have to go out there and present the organization. I call it begging almost. That's what we have to do. It's not for me, it makes me feel like my work is not worth it it makes me feel like, you know, when I see on television that big companies like, for example, Bombardier or Air Canada, we keep hearing about them lately, get these amounts of money with no regards to how they spend it. And that on the other hand, I'm always begging on private foundation. That just blows me away, you know? If we were only able to get the minimum funding from our government to at least cover the basic salaries and to cover our rent, phone bills, I mean, the minimum, we could focus on the mission, but that's not what we do. Actually, out of we're 11 about employees at this point right now that are full-time. Well, 3 of us are working on that every week. And it shouldn't be that way. So, but it's the recognition that really bothers me as well. At first, you know, it was kind of, you get used to doing that exercise of asking money all the time. You know, it's like any other, you know, task that you have, you know. But when you sit down and you're very tired and you're thinking, what am I doing? I'm just not being recognized for what I'm doing. And at the same time, on the media, we keep hearing how essential we are and how great work, but it doesn't work like that. I mean, those tap on the shoulder, I don't need that. I just need my work to be acknowledged. And my work is very important. What we do is very important. And that's how, you know, we should be heard from our government. So yeah, so it's a little, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it is definitely discouraging to see, you know, your organization having to beg, as you put it, and looking at Air Canada getting large amounts of money when it's not doing the same thing. And so let's bring it, but you know, that's more of a federal level, what the federal government should be doing more. But let's bring it down to kind of the municipal level, because we have, I think a lot of the people in this class will appreciate, we have an election coming up. Go vote if you can, everybody. But can you just tell us about, from the perspective of your organization, can you tell us about if any of the political parties are addressing food security in Montreal adequately, or what the platforms look like and what you think their relation to your organization is?
Mm-hmm. Well, right now, I'm not hearing that much of anything about food security in Montreal. What I'm hearing a lot, and it's part of both Ensemble Montréal and Projet Montréal campaign, is really the social housing. That's what we hear a lot about, and I'm very glad that we do, because you know what? If people were correctly housed, I mean, if everybody had a reasonable rent, well, they would have enough space in their budget to buy food. So for me, if we attack the housing problem, it's perfect, because you can, like when we meet people that come here at the food bank and they ask us and they tell us about their situation, they cannot do anything about the rent. You can't compress that in your budget. So the first thing that they'll cut off on is the food, because that they could work around. But sometimes people tell us how they manage to feed themselves and their family. It's ridiculous. It's incredible how people sometimes are resourceful in terms of finding a way to finish the month, let's say. So that's why right now I'm not pushing too hard on that. The food situation, I think there's other instances in Montreal that are really reflecting on that. As for the campaign right now, they're really focusing on the housing situation. So I'm glad that this is happening. Actually, even this afternoon, I'm going to manifest in our borough for a cheaper housing. So I try to give. I'm also part of different movements for social housing. So I go through that way so that it impacts the food situation. You know, because clearly that's the way to go about it. And the revenues, the minimum wage, for example, should be higher. I mean, if people were decently paid, I think they could decently budget And if they had a decent rent, I think the rest would just follow. I wish we didn't exist. You know, that's my whole goal in life, you know. So I try to, with colleagues and other sector of intervention, I try to, you know, give my best with them on different, you know, so that we could at least attack those areas. But I know that I heard Mr. Kader talk about the community groups, how they should be better financed, but as for the food itself, I'm not hearing so much about it right now.
Yeah, perfect. You know, that answers one of my other questions. I was going to ask you, you know, what place do you want your organization to have in society? And you don't really want it to have one at all, because ideally, of course, it would not be here. So, and these are all always important things to consider, you know, the political nature of the questions. You do a great job answering them. Unfortunately, I do have to ask you the questions you've been asked so many times. We are still in a pandemic, and we're going to be talking about this for a while. So, but this is was still very exciting for me, because to ask at least, because I think everyone has their pandemic story. You know, where were we at the start of the pandemic? How did it affect our lives? You know, I don't know for everyone watching, but you know, whether you were in school, it may have affected your studies, might have meant that you had a year online. When it all started, I wasn't sure if we were going to get back to school in 2 weeks or in the fall. But your organization was having a very, very different experience in a different time. And so I really want to hear two things. One, what was your pandemic story in the early days? How did you find your feet? Because I think one thing that also inspired me when I was reading through your report was how quickly you mobilized. It was fast, it was efficient, you transformed your organization basically overnight. I don't believe you missed a single day. And I remember reading this, and I didn't even know how it was possible. It was inspiring, really, because, you know, it was just overnight. You transform your organization, mobilize inhumanly fast. And I'm just wondering, can you tell us how you managed to do that? Because it seems impossible.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll refer to your first question when you asked me, what does it mean for me, community engagement? I think the answer is there. I mean, I am very, very lucky. I get very emotional when I talk about the pandemic, so don't, if my eyes get watery. I'm very fortunate to have a team of people that are not here for, well, they're not here for the salary, I can tell you that much, but they're truly here for the good reason. And when the pandemic happened, you know, it was a Friday, and nobody works on Friday except me. I work from home, and I saw it on the news and everything. And I on my computer and my mail, I kept seeing people, organization, other directors that were writing, and were saying, okay, we're closing. And I started to panic, because I'm thinking, oh my God, you know, what about us? And I thought, are they gonna come in? I can't force people to come in. Like, how is it gonna happen? So I just sent an email hoping some of my colleagues would, you know, open it, even though they weren't working. And everybody, without exception, were like, we're gonna be in on Monday, we're gonna find solutions. And we came in on a Monday, and we just said, okay, we're gonna do this outside. We're just gonna take the food outside. It was pretty cold. We lasted 3 days outside. And right away, well, we changed our habits, okay? Before we come in at 9, we started coming in at 8 every morning, so that we could have a good quality meeting every day to make sure that we saw everything coming daily. So, okay, so in this department, are you okay? What would you need? Okay, we need more baskets. Okay, we'll do that. We needed boxes. It's the little things that were coming up that we never thought of, because I have to say that people come to us for food. We don't do deliveries at all. Never been able to, because we don't have enough financial resources to put together a delivery service, even though population needs it. We don't have the money for that. So from one day to another, all of a sudden, we had to deliver to all these people that we used to see coming in. So we started calling all kinds of companies. You know, we we went out to the community and said, okay, we need box. So we called Cascade. Cascade is a big company. We thought, hey, Cascade right away, okay, we can bring you 3,000 boxes. Okay, great. So we developed a partnership with them. After that, we saw a lot of cooks that were out of jobs. So we were like, okay, you want to do some volunteer? Do you want to help us transform the food in the kitchen? Because we do a lot of, recuperate all the unsolds of the Jean Talon market, which is about 1 ton, 1.5 tons of food per week that we, all fruits and vegetables that we bring back here and that we recondition. So we needed more people to recondition. So our really, the way we came out of this stronger was very going out there, asking people to help, and every day, taking care of each other, the team. I mean, I remember at first, we used to go outside just before opening hours and we put music and we dance. We did that for like 6 months, every day. And every staff would choose a song every day, and we would just dance our life away outside. You know, people thought we're crazy, but that's okay. And it just made us feel like, oof, and then we could start the day. It was a lot of caring for each other when we knew that one of us, for example, had their grandparents in a center that couldn't see them. We'd make sure that we wrap ourselves around that person to make sure they were okay. So it's really about, I think it was really about caring about each other and caring about the people that needed us.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And I really don't want it to be lost on anyone that, you know, the efforts of this pandemic, the efforts of a very small team of people and this organization quite literally saved many lives. And I really don't want that to be lost on anyone, that these efforts really made a difference in so many lives and really saved some people. So thank you so much. And so, but to take a second again, you did talk about, and please, if you need a second to answer, just take a quick breather. I'll see if there's any questions in the chat.
Maybe a sip of water.
Yeah, I'll take one too.
But these are, I'm very happy. I'm very happy. I just get very emotional because I'm just always so surprised to see so much, a lot of good people out there. You know, in the news, we see, you know, everything that goes wrong all the time, or most of the time. But, you know, here a lot of great things happen. And, you know, I say to a lot of people that talk about the pandemic, oh, it must have been hard. And yes, it was hard, but I've never felt so alive. Yeah. And so cared about.
Thank you so much. And yes, thank you for quite literally saving many lives in your neighborhood and beyond. So, but now, you know, this was all, it seems to have passed by both a lifetime and a month ago.
Yeah.
And so I do want to talk about a year and a half later, what have we learned and what have you learned specifically? And do you think that right now, Canada and Montreal is in a better or worse position in terms of providing a social network?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we, at a micro vision of it, the micro vision of us was like, we were thinking, oh, now you think it's important to invest in social network. Yeah, but it's been so long. And we see it with the nurses, doctors, paramedics. All them people that work with human beings, you know, truly and closely. We realize how all these people are so important right now that we've been to a big pandemic, but the damage that's been done through the years, the decades, we see it now. It's hard to get back on top of things, you know, and it's the same thing with the community system, right? Through the pandemic, we received ourselves and other organizations in food security and other, we got all of a sudden lots of money to buy fridge, to buy freezers, and all of a sudden it was very important that we had, you know, capacity of stocking and capacity of, you know, but why was it there before? So people started we were all doing things very quickly, maybe not always in the best ways, you know, buying things really like without really shopping things, but really just, okay, we need a freezer. Okay, can you take care of that? Can you call for a freezer? So if only we had taken care of all these social services throughout the last decades, everybody, I think, would have been ready for this. Now, our governments, this pandemic was big enough and put lights on the problems enough that now the government will engage themselves in better financing and supporting the community, the different community services and social in general. I don't know, you know, I mean, just about everybody's in strike right now. We are as well. We did 2 weeks ago, we had one afternoon of strike. We're going to be doing that again in February. Are we being heard? I'm not sure. What I know is that we, the CRC, I think we're ready if ever anything else happens, because we've learned a lot. And even when we're about to reopen after the holidays, but we're going to maintain the delivery service in case anything happens. So we're going to be ready, but is our government ready? Is he going to invest sufficiently so that throughout the years to come, because we know there's going to be other disasters, whether it's on microbiology, whether it's with the environment, there will be other situations. And if nothing is being done right now so that we could face that with the years to come, I know that a lot of my colleagues, I mean, we have the opportunity to be a big, well, we're getting bigger organization. I mean, I think in our Boru, we are the biggest organization in food security. But I saw a lot of my colleagues that have little, you know, aspects of their work as with food security that didn't make it through because they weren't, you know, strong enough to, so people came to us instead. But there's a lot of, and right now with the salaries that are not sufficient in the community sector, I see a lot of people losing their staff and not being able to, so I don't know, you know, we've learned a lot through this, but is the government, are governments learning a lot through this? I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Definitely. I think, well, I think everyone can definitely be rest assured that we have strong organizations like yours. We definitely do want the government to be strong as well and kind of be, we want not to have you be the last and first line of defense between us and total bad things.
Yeah.
And so thank you very much for answering my questions about the pandemic. I know it wasn't easy, but I really do think everyone appreciated hearing your answers, and it's very important to hear it. So thank you very much. But let's talk about let's move to a different note. Will be attached, but let's talk a little bit about the future. Just for your center. What would you say the primary obstacles and most important considerations of food security are in Montreal right now and going forward, particularly, right? You know, what do you see what do you think the primary considerations we need to have when thinking about food security in Montreal are right now? You touched on that a bit with answering parties, but I was wondering if you wanted to elaborate more.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is very urgent for me to address at this point, because, you know, a lot of people are talking about, you know, things are getting back to normal, and they have I have a lot of people that I talk to that have expectation of our numbers going down, and they did go down, our numbers. You know, at first we had 100% more demands during the first few months of the pandemic. So it's 2 times more people than we used to serve before. And it went down to about a 40% at the lowest, about a 40% augmentation, you know, increase. And now it's going back up. And we know why. It's because the prices are going up, the inflation. I think the last I heard, we were about at 3% of inflation, but some talk about 5% in the months to come. And obviously that's what is, it's killing people, you know, it's, so people that were just about, you know, over the poverty line, you know, are now dropping into poverty, and they come to us, you know, they didn't even know that we exist. A lot of people call us and they didn't know about food banks, heard it through the grapevine, whatever, and they call us and they're, well, a lot of people that we talk to are like, they're ashamed to have to go that low, okay, in big brackets, you know, when people don't know that, you know, it's not degrading. I mean, we do this, you know, with our hearts and stuff. So it's not, you don't have to be shamed to come to a food bank. It's important to go for help. But anyhow, these people are very uncomfortable with that. And it surprises them to be in that situation because they work. You know, like maybe 20 years ago, we used to see people come to banks, or people that were on welfare, stuff like that. But now we have people coming in that they're both working, both parents or both, you know, chief of family are working, and they don't understand why I'm working and I shouldn't be asking for help that way. But it's that the revenues are not sufficient as it is, and with the inflation, it's just going, it's crazy. I mean, see it too. I mean, I'm able to stop and do my groceries, but I see myself sometimes hesitating more and more, you know, and oh, you know, should I buy this? Oh, I think it's a little expensive. So imagine when already you're in the situation of poverty, and this just continues and continues. So we have to rethink how we can block prices on certain items, on certain things, the way we do it with milk, for example. The average family needs to have a break somewhere, because everything is just going up. So they have problems out with housing, and then they turn around, the price. So for us in our sector of activity, it's not gonna get prettier. I remember months ago when we first went, just before the second wave, a lot of people even from the Boru, people working at the Boru were saying to me, oh, you know, it's getting better. You know, how long do you think it's going to last for you guys? You know, and I was like, oh, a good 2 years before we get out of this, just because of all the impact, the different ways that this crisis impacted the people, you know. We're gonna be the last one to be out of this mess, you know, because we're working with people with the food. It's 3 times a day, it's every day, you know. So right now, I think we're gonna have to address the inflation. We're gonna have to address the whole, like we said, the whole the measures that are in place for people that are on unemployment, on welfare. I mean, how do you expect a person that is on welfare, that has like between $500 and $600 a month to live, to actually pay for their housing, food? I mean, don't go to the dentist, or don't even think about getting glasses or something. So first thing first, I think we have to really sit down and think about how can we help people get to the food in an easier way. We have to put laws together to at least, you know, try to fix the prices on certain items. Fruits and vegetables is something that just always floors me, to see how we could play with that the way we do. It's and we keep saying to the people, we keep making them feel we don't shame them, but almost think, well, you should eat better, you should have fruits and vegetables. Yeah, well, they can't afford it, you know. So I don't see the situation getting better. So I know it's not very optimistic of me, but we will be there as always, you know, to try and help people get through this. But it's not going to get easier. And the fundings that we've been getting to buy food on top of the food that we restore, recuperate and stuff, it's stopping. They're not giving us any more money because they're thinking, okay, well, it's over. So if we don't get that help to buy food on top of the food that we usually get, the help is gonna, because I mean, we have the same amount of food, but double the people that ask for help. So we can't, at one point, we can't cut the carrot in two, you know, so it has to be decent.
For sure. Very important. And as you said, it's not the most optimistic view, but unfortunately it is a reality that we are in. And I really think it's important to share that. But a lot of these things are long-term, putting laws in place. We all know how long it takes to pass a law, 5 years before it's even on the agenda. And so in terms of the short term, what do you think kind of next 6 months, say, what challenges do you see yourself having to overcome, your organization particularly having to overcome the next 6 months?
Well, it's very, very down to earth what I'm gonna say, but just keeping the staff, just keeping them. Our mental health, everybody's burnt out. For real. I mean, we're very tired, very, very tired. Now we're into the Christmas stuff. I mean, we give a special food service for the holidays. This asks us a lot of time. It's very time consuming. We serve up to 350 households during that for 2 days. In 2 days, we deliver to between 300 and 350 households that are in need. So that's really time consuming. On top of, we have this pressure to reopen because the pandemic is, not ending, but about to. So we want to reopen. We want to see our members and stuff. So between reopening after the holidays, getting through the holidays, seeing the numbers and the demands going up because of the cost of food right now, I'm hoping that we just are all there when 2022 comes, and that we're all have our mental health. We all have our act together, because we're very tired, and I don't have more money to hire more people. I'm just doing the same thing I used to do before with the same budget. So I can't make miracles, but so, it's very basic again, but like, for example, we did this morning, one of my colleagues put together a little chasse au trésor. I don't know how you say that in English, but a little treasure hunt, just for the fun of it. And we're trying to have next week, we're gonna have a little happening to sign Christmas cards for all of our members. So we try to do that with a little dessert. There's not much we can do, but we try to get, little activities to get us together, because I give it all. I give everything that I have, and I know that my team does as well. But for the next 6 months, for real, I'm just going to try to keep my team together, keep them happy, and have that space for everybody to share whenever they're not feeling well, they're tired, they don't know how we're going to get through this. I'm trying to have an open space, a safe space. I always think, I'm a manager. There's different ways to manage. I'm a very, I think, human manager, and I try as much to be there for them. My team is more important than any bailleurs de fonds or partners or anything. So I try, on a daily basis to be as open and have as much fun as we can doing the work. So, but for the next 6 months, I don't see the demands going down. I see them going up. So we're gonna have to go.
Really, truly from the bottom of my heart, best of luck. I really hope you guys do keep it together. And yes, now I'm reaching the end of the official questions. Please, and so we're gonna have a short Q&A period after everybody. I only have a few more questions to ask. I really don't want this to be lost on anyone about how amazing it is that Mrs. Bouchard has been able to take the time out of her day to come here. As I said, start of the pandemic, This is an organization that a very small team of people with a very little amount of resources saved lives. You're not going to have the opportunity to ask many questions to people like this in the future. But for kind of my last official question, you run a very, very important organization, as we've covered. But as you said before, it wasn't just you at the start of the pandemic. It wasn't just, you talked with a lot of different organizations. It was truly inspiring how a lot of organizations were just able to come together. And you worked here, I saw, you worked with so many different ones. You got freezers from here, you got cyclists from here, you got volunteers from here. Really, Montreal, I think on a communal level, really did come together at the start of the pandemic, with very limited resources as well, and truly, truly inspiring. And what do you really think this says about community engagement? And in this light, how do you see Montreal in this light?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Montreal is a very, very privileged city to be. I think we're very open to the world, and a lot of people come to live in Montreal because I think it's a great city. So I think that means that equals that we have a lot of potential of solution as well. I think there's a lot of movement. Like I saw a lot of things happening during the pandemic that were inspired by other similar experience everywhere else in the world. And I think that brings in the melting pot of solution. I think it's a big city as well, Montreal, and there's different issues that the regular people go through every day, whether it's with the language. There's two official language, but God knows there's a lot of other language that are being spoken everywhere. There's a lot of all the boroughs are very multicultural as well. And I think that diversity brings the equal diversity of solution. I don't know if you follow what I'm trying to say, but for example, I know that we worked a lot with Solidarity Cyclists. It was a bunch of people that just got together at one point that had either lost their jobs or weren't able to go to work normally before school, and they just spontaneously decided to get together. They all liked biking, and they all got together and funded this because it is now a real organization that it's called Cyclistes Solidaires. And apparently that's something that was inspired from somewhere else in Europe that, transported here. So the people just got together, came to us and say, you know what, we heard that you guys, we're not doing delivery in normal time, but we could do the delivery for you. And the jour au lendemain, we had all these people, just biking around the city. But I think that Montreal is a city that allows that type of initiative, because we are a city that is known for, wanting to be greener and greener. So people have bikes, want to use the bikes, try to stay away from cars, and which is a good thing, because it's really more difficult to deliver to people by car than it is by bike, and it costs less as well. We didn't have to pay for gas, for example. So I thought that all the solutions that came to us and that we put together were very appropriate for a city, a big diversity city like ours. So we were very fortunate to have all these initiatives going around us, buzzing around us. So that was it was very helpful for us to get through this.
Okay, this is great. Thank you so much. The questions, Piers, were wonderful. Nathalie, you've given us so much to think about. I have a couple of questions here for you. One, a student asked, does your organization provide services for some university students who can't afford food because they don't have enough financial funding from their family, or not enough government help? So that's one. And The other, how can students help out? How can they get involved?
Well, the first question, we absolutely help anybody who shows that they have problems with buying the food, so with their revenues. Right now, during the pandemic, we didn't ask any proof of anything. We just trust people to come and ask for help because they do need the help. But usually we just ask a proof of revenue. They have to be living in our bureau because, it's we all get financial support by bureau. So you have to be in our bureau. But absolutely, I mean, it's not, we don't only serve families or, we don't have a specific clientele. It's anybody who has a problem, putting the food on the table. So absolutely anybody could, come and get help. As for how to contribute, we have a website in the cracpp.org. And there's the different ways to go about it. I mean, sometimes we do go through different programs in university directly with the director or coordinator of the programs, but spontaneously you could just come and enroll. And there's a big diversity of things that you could do here. Since we work on environmental solutions, with the reconditioning of the food, there's lots of space to work in the kitchen. So their administration, give us a hand with funding. So there's a lot of ways that people could give a hand. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think that's.
It looks like there's one more question in the Q&A section.
Miss it?
Thank you. This is from Jonathan Van Joons. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. Thank you, Natalie. You are truly amazing. If you could have access to any type of information or knowledge that would make your work easier that you don't have now, what would it be?
If I could have access to a knowledge, something that, is that it? Yeah. Wow, what a question. Well, it's always, I wish I could see what's in the plan of our next government. We're a year to the next provincial government. If only I could know what their priorities will be, that would be nice. I could work the next year towards that. If not, well, I don't know. I'm just taken by surprise by this question. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe how long this will last. Like everybody else. Yeah, sorry.
So there's another question, actually. Is there any way for people to donate to your organization? Do you take donations?
Yeah. We try, well, as for food donation, we deal with big donations of food. It's easier for us, and it's truly just because it's the sanitary aspect of it. We have to make sure that we give out the right things to the right people, and also that we like to have food, the same food for everybody. So sometimes it's hard to just have little things of food. So, but it's mainly donation through money. That's what helps us, truly. But we have lots of campaigns on Simplic. Like right now, we do have a campaign for our Christmas basket period. So it's on Simplic. Maybe Piers, I could give you the address, or maybe you have it of the Simplic. If not, directly on our site, we have a bouton. It says donate. So it's as simple as that. And truly, there must be the link for the Simplic must be on our site, our website as well, under Opération de Noël.
Thank you very much. It seems like there's no other questions. I'd really like to take this opportunity to thank you, Nathalie, for a wonderful discussion. Piers for great questions. Nathalie for those, really shining a light on your organization, on yourself, and the people that work with you. Thank you very much for that. I'd also like to thank a number of organizations who have played a role in this series, the beginning of this series. And so I'd like to thank the Quebec Studies Student Association at McGill, the McGill Institute for the Study of Canada, the Centre for Interdisciplinary Research on Montreal, and then finally the Quebec Studies program. I'd also like to thank all the audience, the people who came, the questions that were raised at the end. I can't think of a better subject to begin this series than this one. I mean, it's so essential and so basic, and many of us just take it for granted. And it's the idea it's a struggle for people is really important to remember and to be reminded about. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure. If I have a minute, I just want to say that well, I'm very grateful that you did give us an opportunity to explain a bit what our work is about, but also just for everybody that's listening, just a reminder, I spoke with my heart today. It was maybe not perfect at all time, but it was truly from the bottom of my heart. And I'm a person in community work, especially with the type of work that we do. I'm on the field most of the time. So maybe there's questions that could have been answered a little bit more specifically or globally, but voila, thank you.
No, thank you so much. This is great. Okay, so well, I hope to get to your organization and visit and see for myself everything that you're doing.
Great.
Okay.
Well, you're welcome.
All right, everyone. We'll
Bye-bye.
in a couple weeks.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.